Welcome back to my channel Dreamers. In today's video, as promised, we'll continue the tutorials on this project. We'll focus on the character. This time we'll go to see all the elements that compose it, drawn on Procreate and then here on Dreams for the animations. But before starting, I want to remind you that my tutorials in Pills are back. If you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you go and get it. I leave the video below in the description. You will find it very interesting. I'm working on several projects, obviously, and I'm having a lot of fun with this one. Some of you ask me to make a fight scene, and I decide to take inspiration from a video game that just came out to do this. I'd like to do some live on this, because there's really a lot to talk about. The animation you see is completely in rig, except for some special effects. All the characters are dolls choreographed in detail to create this dance of death. There is still a lot of work to do, but the video won't be very long. Once it's finished, the main goal is quality. Stay connected to the channel for updates. Watch the video until the end if you are interested. It's really important for me. And if you are not already, in the meantime, but here we are. As I was telling you, let's start from Procreate. We'll go and see all the elements that I needed first of all to create the character. In the meantime, I'm going to hide all the parts that form the face to concentrate on the body first. The body is made up of just the shoulders and the neck, but it was fun to use these parts to create a really interesting effect. I'm going to remove this grill at the back, we don't need it, ok. This part is composed of some levels that we can now see directly. Let's start from this level, the bow tie of the collar, the principal part. I also drew these two appendices separately, but in the end I didn't animate them. Maybe I'll do it later. Then there are some important elements that serve to give three-dimensionality to the movement, as we see, for example, the apron, the collar and the shoulders. All these parts form the body, but now let's move up to see the elements of the face. We first find this black level that forms the base of the head. Going up we find the ears, both on two separate levels. We'll then see on Dreams how all these elements will move. We then find the colored background of the face, which you see connected to a clipping mask above, which is used to draw the hairline. If I remove the mask, I would say that the hair becomes a little thicker. I have already made some tutorials regarding this type of level, which is used to give three-dimensionality when I rotate the character's head. This overlapping of shapes creates the black border here. Then at this level we find the sidebars that delimit the hairline. This level is important because it helps me understand where to move the hairline as the head rotates. But let's continue and go up again where we find the character's tuft. Another important element for the 3D effect of rotation. The eye contour, and the eyes split on two levels for the blinking effect. Continuing we find the glasses, then this shadow here, which also in this case will help us a lot for the 3D effect. The shapes of the mouth, the upper part to simplify is joined to the nose. Lastly the character's bird, and this layer, as we see on Dreams, will be used to cover some elements during the head rotation animation. There are many elements that we should manage on Dreams. The design part is still linked to the animation. Only when you try to move some of them, for example, alignment problems could arise that will need to be corrected. Here we are on Dreams. We'll focus on the character animations, especially on the 3D rotation effect. For example, the initial part where the box falls from above is very simple. The physics I use is very simple, but it works very well. If you are interested in learning more about the topic, I have already made a tutorial on this, but if you have anything to ask, I'm here. But let's get to the heart of the tutorial. The character is obviously contained within a single group. See how it jumps out? What agility this old man! Enter the main group, we find another subgroup. It's a level above that I use to mask the parts of the character that I didn't want to be seen. Level that has the shape of a box with a more pronounced upper part because at times the head goes outside the limits of the box. Using the layer mask allowed me to leave this part of the head out of the box. Box. For now I'm going to delete it, I think we don't need it. This way you will be able to better appreciate the 3D effect I gave in this animation. To focus as much as possible on the character animation, I removed the box. You can better appreciate how the animation works, but we'll go into detail all the elements we have seen on Procreate and their behavior. Now let's focus on the animation you see in detail, starting from the body. Do you see the movement of the shoulders? How do they move? When the head rotates, they follow the movement. In animation, it's important to create harmony in the movements to make things more organic and not too flat or static. We can consider the movement of the shoulder as secondary animation, which combined with the head creates the perfect mix. Here with the movement of the shoulders, and here without. Let's hide the head a little bit. I'll make it transparent because we'll need it as a reference to focus on the body animation. I used a layer mask to hide it. I don't know if it happened to you too, but sometimes on same groups we can't add filter keyframes. I hope that with Dreams 2 this thing will be fixed. Let's start with the bow tie and its animation. The idea was to put it together with the chin, but leave it a little bit behind. If instead we take the collar as a reference, it does the exact opposite by moving away. This creates a parallax effect. This word always comes back in 2D with rig animations, because it's essential to create parallax effects to give the sensation of depth. Following the movement of the collar, you can see how it rotates in the opposite direction to the bow tie. It follows the movement of the shoulders perfectly, as if the body were divided into a front and a back part. We can better understand this system by taking the apron and shoulders as a reference. In the case of the apron, with the warp tool I modified the shape in this way, as the shoulders rotated so that it looked like it was moving a little to the right and left. The shoulders go in the opposite direction. This creates that parallax effect which gives us the illusion that the body is rotating. The shoulders are also warp, so as you can see I added some keyframes that correspond to the other movements. Here for example changing the shape a little towards the top and here towards the bottom, and with the body rotated on the other side in reverse. Having this warp tool on Dreams can help us a lot, and I hope that with the new update we'll be able to warp entire group, which for the moment remains an optional available only on Procreate. We can move inside the group that contains the face layers and see what happens right away. Are you ready? How many layers, dreamers? Now we will try to make you understand better how I moved them. There are really so many, and I think that to do an even better job I would have added others, but I would say that for today they are enough. Let's start from this, the base. Guess what? Here too we find a warp tool corresponding to the movement keyframes, as if the chin protruded farther outward when the head rotated. You can appreciate this better if I activate the pink face layer. They do the same animation basically, but I had to separate these two shapes because there will be some layers above, like the hairline, that will need to have the mask active only on the pink layer. This is to ensure that the black border around the face always wraps around the head. It's definitely a lot of work to add all these layers, but as long as you make animations like this one, and which are generally very simple, you can work on many more layers. Then we find the ears, which are two separate levels. When the head rotates to the right, the left hair hides, and vice versa when the head rotates to the left. There is also a sort of parallax effect that is created between the shape of the face and the ears. Let's continue by finding the elements of the face that are inside the single group with the clipping mask active on the pink base layer. This allowed me to make sure that all the elements inside it stayed within the shape of the face as the head rotated. And I think the result is not bad at all. What do you think? Using the Move and Scale tool, I simply moved the group left and right to create this effect. All the elements inside the group that we saw before, nose, move, etc., have in turn some animation corresponding to the movement keyframes of the group. Animation, for example, for the nose and move created with the warp tool, which we are useful to me to modify the shape a little based on the rotation of the head. Let's say that here you will have to be very creative and know a little about human anatomy to change the shape of the nose, for example, to put it in the right perspective. Then there are elements that I had to create when I started make the animations, like this shadow here of the face, that will have to be there when the head is rotated to the right. Finally, we find the last group, which contains glasses, tuft and bird of our old friend. These add the finishing touch to the character, separated from the eyes and mouth group because these shapes remain outside the outline of the base. Entering the group, we immediately find the glasses, for example, where I also added distortion animation, for this to give them a greater three-dimensionality with the head rotated. If I go to accentuate this distortion, you can notice better. Small details, but they are really precious. For the bird, I used the warp tool with the head rotated to the right, lengthening the shape a little. To the left, I just had to rotate it a little and move it to the left. The important thing is that all the elements, even if separated, match as much as possible to avoid misalignment with all those black lines. I have to show you some more levels like this one here. It's a small detail that covers those lines once the head is rotated. Obviously, it's a very artisanal method, but I think it works very well. Another shape that I made along the way. Same thing goes for this one, which gives a more realistic shape to the hair in that spot. Finally, we find the tuft that moves from one side to the other, together with everything else. I wanted to leave the easiest part for the end because surely you will have already fallen asleep by now, and this wasn't that important. Well, dreamers, we have reached the end of another fantastic tutorial. This 3D effect on the character is truly incredible. Let me know in the comments what you think and if it can be of help to you in your future projects. Thanks for watching and